What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 7 of the Zero Access Footy podcast. Once again, my name is Rhys, known as Northy, and I'm joined by Behm, otherwise known as the Premiership Caller. And we have, once again, a lot to discuss. It's not so happy of a week for me, but we have a very happy young man right here. His team has beaten the mid-allegations, and he is ready to, gush over his team for an hour and 10 minutes.
I'm not a woman. I don't gush like that, bro.
No, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a very, very good week, I'd imagine. But we've got a lot to talk about. We have reimagined a segment based off of feedback we've gotten. But we've also
not just a segment, your segment.
Yeah, my segment, sorry. We couldn't possibly do that to Behm's Tribunal Tasks. Mm-hmm. That's still a headliner each week.
Goated.
But, of course, we're going to look at how round 4 went, and then we're going to talk about the big topics on top of the winners and losers, in a sense. Mm-hmm. It looks like mainly losers this week, which is a shame, but nonetheless, I think they've just got more interesting things to talk about.
Somehow we're talking only about losers, but not you guys. So
I'll take it. I'll happily take it. But of course, we're going to go and have a look at what the ladder is currently looking like at the moment. So, unfortunately, my team has fallen out of picture. Yeah. But your team has stuck it firm.
Climbing, baby.
You had mentioned that your team was going to hit the 2-2 mark at this point.
Yes, I did say
at
that.
this point, 2-2, you thought your team would be at.
Yes.
They have impressed you. Tell me, how are you feeling?
Boosted my expectations from finishing 14th to 13th. So happy. Woo!
Just a little bit over Port Adelaide, who was sitting in 12th.
Exactly right.
I guess some of the more important ones to point out, Sydney, I think they were already out of the 8, but they're now sitting on 9th off of a big win against North. Freo, from starting off lower, now finally starting to rise a bit. Geelong sitting just on the cusp of 8 after their big win against Melbourne. Then you've got the likes of Collingwood, the Adelaide Gold Coast matchup, which lived up to the hype. We will talk about that in a sec. And then our usual top riders, we've got Brisbane sticking up top, Hawthorn, of course, and Gold Coast now getting themselves a little bit of breathing space.
Still only 3 undefeated teams.
That's it.
Still only 3. Got Gold Coast, surprisingly.
Who do you think may fall this week? We'll have a look at that as we kind of go past the review and we get to the preview for next round. But nonetheless, there's a lot to talk about in the sense of results this week. So we'll start off Thursday night at the MCG. You've got the Pies defeating the Blues in a really, really big matchup. This looked ugly on both ends.
It was. I mean, Collingwood started kind of slow. Carlton did get out to a good start like they normally do, but it wasn't scoreboard impact. It was pretty even for most of the first half.
Yeah. Even
though I felt like Carlton still dominated the game. They just couldn't put it on the scoreboard. They continue to just amaze me with how bad some of their decisions are and some of the skill that they show. My God.
Yeah. Like the thing is, it was on both sides.
I know.
Like, both sides.
It was raining. It was on and off rain all night, so it was very slippery, I'm sure. However, some of the handballs that Carlton made, they tried to do a lot of handballs off of halfback, get that game moving. It just didn't work. They're not a handball team.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like they've got a game plan that they're trying to implement, but they're just not made for it.
Yeah, McGovern and Haynes, they can't kick, they can't mark, and they can't handball. So it's like Josh Giddey's a draft prospect. He couldn't shoot, couldn't dribble, couldn't pass, couldn't rebound, couldn't play defense.
I remember that.
Could not play basketball,
I remember that's an iconic image. I love that.
That's what McGovern and Haynes are doing for Carlton right now, basically. So
poor Nick Haynes. Well, not poor Nick Haynes, to be fair. He's doing it to himself, but
also got a fair bit of money.
Oh, he's had a rough start to Carlton. His Carlton, I guess, regime. It's not been good for him.
No, but in the end, Carlton, as always, choke in the second half. Collingwood were able to get their ball movement through the middle going, and Carlton just weren't able to go with them. I thought Lachie Schultz was really, really solid. He's starting to prove that the trade wasn't as bad as it once was.
Yeah.
Because it was really poor last year.
Yep.
But aside from that, there just wasn't a lot to talk about. I just thought it was a nothing game for Carlton in the end.
Yeah. I feel like this one could have been a lot better. To be fair, we weren't talking it up as a massive, match, just more the fact that it was Carlton versus Collingwood, big rivalry game. Yes. I think we were so much more hype about the Suns versus Crows ones for better reasons because it was a game that looked to have a really high standard. And of course, the circumstances surrounding the fact that the MCG was in pretty rough condition. roof off, rain coming in. It meant that we weren't going to see the highest skill game.
Yeah.
But we did see a game that I think a lot of people kind of predicted.
Yeah.
Right? No one thought it was going to be a blowout, but no one thought Blues were going to get it.
Nah,
so
correct.
the Blues go down by 17.
Yeah. Melbourne, Geelong. I mean, when you set up the game so poorly like Melbourne did, you got to bring in a lot of questions to the coaching staff.
Yep.
And I thought the way they set up, having almost 2 spares around the ball basically at times, and Geelong just getting that possession game going with Stewart or Guthrie or whoever sitting behind the ball free, it just was not a good setup for Melbourne whatsoever. No matter how well you wanted to try play, they didn't look like they wanted to win it from the start. Like you could see Geelong were just going to play their way all the way through.
Yeah, no, I think the Cats, again, it's a GMHBA thing. I'll always mention it when it's played there, right? Because the ground is its own special kind of, I guess, atmosphere to play in.
Yes.
Not even taking into the fact that the ground is literally a different shape, but the way that it's compacted, Geelong are used to playing that, and it was very obvious. I think there were some plays and some goals that the D's kicked that were just out of pure luck.
Yeah.
Like they'd somehow find off a shank kick, a pick off into the middle. And I think that's how most teams would beat the Demons, because there's no way you're beating them if you're playing a long kick game down the wings. They're just so set up for that. They're ready for it. They know where to go. The D's, I think at times they tried to make risks that didn't pay off.
Yeah, well,
and they ended up just getting completely trampled in because of that. But I can't say it's a bad idea. You have to try risks against Geelong in this environment.
We're going to talk about them later.
Yeah.
They are a topic to talk about at the moment.
Yep.
So we'll go more in depth then, but it just didn't look great. And
No.
you saw after the game, there was a lot of stuff with Christian Petrarca being talked about. But
Thankfully for passionate reasons, not for like not caring.
yeah, but thankfully we did have a really good game in Suns Crows. It was an awesome game. We had this as the highlight game of the round.
And it absolutely hit.
We got that spot on.
We got that so well. I think we both picked Suns by a bit more.
I think I tipped them by like 30.
Neither of us said one.
No.
But at the same time, could have gone the other way. No one's really doubting the Crows after this game. I think both teams are really showing themselves. I think Adelaide actually could have come off better. Maybe not on the ladder.
They didn't lose anyone, and they probably gained a few more.
But what we did discuss from that game, although we didn't expect that margin, is the fact that we managed to predict as well where the big matchups would be. So I think the Gold Coast midfield did its thing. I think that's how they ended up taking the win.
Yeah.
But the Adelaide forward line, we talked a lot about that and how they could be the best forward line in the comp.
You've been a big proponent of it, and it looked really good.
It looks like it against one of the teams that looked to be a big finals contender.
Yeah, in Gold Coast.
In Gold Coast, the fact that they managed to have a Thilthorpe 5-goal game. Fogarty kicked a bunch of goals. I don't know how many.
I think it was 4 from Fogarty or Walker, and then 3 from the other.
Yeah,
so it was
but
5,
either
4,
way,
3.
I was going to say I remember a statistic being like they'd kicked 13 of the team's total
It was
goals.
12 of 14 goals. So whilst their forwards got it done, their tall forwards, their smalls didn't. Obviously missing Rochelle. The only thing that happened with that is how much do you want to play Rankine forward compared to full-time mid. Obviously, there was no Crouch as well this week. They rested him, trying to keep him obviously fit and firing throughout the year. It just sort of changes a little bit. So if there's no Rochelle, so there's no forward impact, and there's no Crouch, obviously you're going to have to try balance it with Rankine. Because if there's Rochelle, you can play him. You got more impact forward of the ball, but obviously Rankine, you might want to play him there because there's no Rochelle, but also there's no Crouch. So how much do you want to spend having time him there? Because he showed pretty good that he can get in and under, but that did lose the aspect of him playing and getting damage forward of the ball.
Can you stop playing with the?
No, I can't.
With the equipment.
Let my tism. Okay,
that's for show, mate. That's not for play. But we'll move on from that because I think we'll probably end up talking about it more. There's more news to cover in that game, but Tigers defeated by Lions by 28 points. We discussed it as well last week. Lions are winning in a way that's very professional.
Yes.
This game could have been blown out a lot more, but they did it the
was,
way I
basically.
expected again,
Yeah.
right? Every game except for the one against you guys, they have come out poor and finished strong.
Yeah.
And they've done it again against the Lions. They just didn't do it against you. It was the opposite way.
Yeah, well, the thing from this is Lions got out to a lead that they were just, no matter what happens, they can't come back from. And they didn't. Like Tigers, they showed some promising signs towards the end, but again, that's more so Brisbane stopping rather than
I was going to say, Brisbane are playing in a certain way that
Yeah.
I don't think makes you comfortable as a fan. I just hope for their sake it means that they kind of roll back on the injury front this year.
Yeah, well, the way I saw it is they showed that their best football is back. Like getting out to that lead, it showed it. They just, obviously a couple of things, whether there's still the drive, if you want to look into it that way, or it's just, hey, we don't want to push ourselves too much too early in the season. Let's just calm down on the fourth quarter a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go next one. Rhys defeated by the Swans.
You can go for this one, mate. You go and go.
That was a tough one to watch. We got off to a poor start and tried climbing back. I hate when we try to make the game into a fight back contest. I'd much prefer we keep ourselves at a little bit of a distance and then push hard, because games for us seem to be a game of quick momentum changes, and that game was so definitive of that. We had ourselves a poor start. Then we had to try and wrestle momentum back our way. And then, of course, as the game got longer and longer, third quarter especially, they just took it. They took it. And it sucks because now you question, were the first 3 weeks just them playing with a bit of fire, and now we're back to the normal ruse that we've seen for the last 5-6 years?
Yeah.
Or is this going to be a one-off? I mean, that'll be the question for the Roos. A lot of people have said now, no, we think the Roos are going to fight for a middle of the position spot. They'll take a step this year. This is the exact opposite of that. And so a lot of questions to ask for the Roos, and hopefully they take it with stride. The leaders have come out and tried saying that this is not how they want to play. This is the old them, not the current and new them.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the Swans, I mean, this is like their first comfortable win all season, it feels like.
This is when they look to get their ball movement going. They really showed that their best kickers are arguably the best kickers in the competition, and they just look dangerous, even with some of the players not fully fit and firing. Like Warner wasn't at his best, Heaney wasn't at his best, and they still walloped you guys.
Yeah.
So, they showed that there's still an insane amount of talent.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people kind of crossed it off because of how they ended their season last year.
Yeah.
So for the Swans' sake, I hope that they're back to their best. I just hate they did it against us, really. GWS defeating the Eagles.
Jesse Hogan kicked 9.
The
Port
first
defeated
actual
by Saints.
bag. The first actual bag of goals.
Port defeated the Saints. Defeated by the Saints. Gotta love that. That was such an awesome game to watch, man.
Oh, yeah.
My Saints.
I was going to say, when I saw that, I mean, they said that it seems to be a pretty, because I didn't watch it, but they had mentioned that it seems to be a pretty big one in the sense of the last few years, right? This is probably one of the bigger ones, because Port at Adelaide is not an easy task for any team. And the Saints have managed to pass.
I said all throughout the week, if Butters plays and still doesn't, I'm tipping Port Adelaide. I tipped Port Adelaide because that's exactly what happened. We still won.
Don't you feel good for being wrong?
For once. I've been right all podcast, the entire length of it, right?
Except for this.
This is the first time I've been wrong, and I don't care. I can't remember if I tipped St Kilda or not, but I think I said Port Adelaide, assuming they get Butters back. But we lost 14 out of 15 against them. In the first quarter, it's the most points we've ever scored at the Adelaide Oval ever in a quarter. This is the first time we'd won at Adelaide Oval in 3 years. We beat Adelaide there in 2022, and the only other 2 times were in 2020. So, I'm just over the moon. Jack McRae was awesome once again. Jack Sinclair, fantastic. His goal at the end of the game was fantastic to kick us out in front once again. Naz was fantastic, also kicked the goal. Jack Higgins continuing his All-Australian push. My God, is he a good small forward? He kicked 3 goals in probably his worst performance of the year.
I hate Saints optimism
awesome.
so much.
Bro, what do you mean?
I miss when Jack Higgins couldn't kick 50% from in front of goal. I miss
Missy
those
Higgins.
Years.
Missy Higgins.
So
I remember Saints TV was getting really upset about it. Bro, what else is the media meant to do?
Every single time he got a mark inside 50 for a period of time, I'm like, something good's going to happen here. And half the time it delivered. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then Dockers defeating the Dogs. Started off first half insanely strong from the Dockers. I think a lot of people expected this to be closer to start because of how well the Dogs been playing, but the Dogs fought back.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shootout in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Both teams, I think, kicked 5 goals. And then in the end of the second quarter, Dockers just pulled away. They looked really good. Their ball movement was striving. They were able to get their kicking game going, and it wasn't that stagnant kicking around the back. It was actually driving the ball through.
Yeah.
And then their midfield, man, Sarong, Brayshaw, Matthew Johnson's
They
been
just
awesome
showed
this year.
up. They finally properly showed up. Like, Sarong has had some games where he's really showed up. I think sometimes when they get a tag, they don't know how to kind of work with it. And I think in previous weeks, when they have kind of had a bit more attention going their way, they haven't known how to deal with it. So the only way you can really get better at it is by being in those experiences and being tagged more often. And I can't remember if the Dogs did something like that. I don't think they can afford to.
No, not at the moment. Not with the talent they don't have.
When they're let off the leash and don't have so much, riding on...
They show their talent.
Yeah, exactly. Riding on them through the entire game defensively. They're fantastic midfielders and why we thought so highly of Sarong to start the year.
I thought this was Bolton's best game in the purple.
Absolutely.
He looked really damaging. He still made a few mistakes that Bolton always does. But I also thought Isaiah Dudley looked really strong.
He's going to be a
he's a magician.
Gem. He's going to be a hidden gem for him.
Yeah, he looked good. And then their backline, like Darcy was fantastic. But outside of that, I think Bulldogs really struggled. My tip for Norton being the most overrated player in the competition is still looking awesome.
I don't know how many people are even rating him anymore, though, to be fair.
But that's the thing. He's still overrated even without people rating it. Like, I don't think he's kicked more than 5 goals.
If it wasn't for Jamara in the state that he's in at the moment, I don't think it'd be a question who their starting 2 forwards would be.
Correct.
Especially with Darcy's breakout so far to start the year. But that is all for the round 4 review. We've changed it up. I'm glad we didn't decide to change the photo. I'm really glad we didn't change that. But we have got a little bit of a different segment. So it was previously 8 Things We Learnt. We've heard that not many people enjoyed it, but that's okay. Yeah. We've moved it up to my Man of the Week.
Macca's Man of the Week. Not sponsored by Macca's, yes. But eventually.
Please understand it is not sponsored. And I want to give my Man of the Week, again, a lot of credit to the Gold Coast versus Adelaide game. I think both sides played out of their skin. And for that reason, right, I'm giving it to Riley Thilthorpe.
Seeker.
I think he played a fantastic game. Yep. He played out of his skin for the circumstances. He's obviously a lot of people feared what those 3 could look like, but I don't know how many people expected Thilthorpe to be the one that seems to be taking the lead. Fogarty close behind, in my opinion.
They're all pretty even. Like, I think they're all top 10 in the Coleman.
I think everyone's aware that Tex is going to kind of fall
slowly
by the wayside as things go on, but my Man of the Week is Thilthorpe for just being so effective with the ball. He looks so dominant in one-on-one situations. Despite the finish with Mac Andrew, I think everything else looked fine.
Yeah.
Everything else looked fine. He has truly, a lot of scary signs to start his career. So it's really, really nice to see that he's finally figured it out. Yeah. And obviously when you're behind someone like Tex, you're learning from some of the best. He's taken it with stride. He's a massive man now. We've seen the growth in him over the last couple of years. Yeah. And to see him put a performance like that against what looks to be one of the best teams, right, really makes you consider what is his peak this year.
Correct.
Do you think he's Coleman worthy?
I wouldn't say Coleman worthy, but I'd still say he's pushing for All-Australian for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think right now Fogarty and Thilthorpe are both in that conversation.
I think you can make an argument for all 3.
Yeah,
honestly.
really. There's potential for that. Yeah. Obviously, you think of the Ben Kings. Hogan is now really going to push that one with his 9. Larkey, absolutely. You're going to think of those guys, those main goal kickers, but Thilthorpe's now properly in that
he's
conversation.
He's settling himself in that argument.
He has broken out. And so that's great to see from his side of things. And just great signs, even despite the loss. I reckon that's going to be a blip on their radar for a fantastic season.
Loved him and Mac Andrew going at it. But we now have a bit of a news segment. A lovely little edit here.
Why did you have to include my neck?
That's a really good point.
Why did you have to include my neck? My neck is just include the face, man. I hate how long the neck looks in this photo. Oh my God. And I've got to stop doing arm movements as well because I'm just going to get called out from the producer. I'm so... Oh my God. Anyways.
Well, I think we're starting off with Jackie Higgins. I think that's number 1 segment. Yes. No, okay, we're starting off with the Rankine. Fair enough. Obviously, we had the Rankine. This was a big topic after the game. Should it have been a free kick? Should it have been paid a mark? Obviously, from the look of it, I have a completely different opinion to everyone else in the competition and in the media, completely different. I'm assuming you think it should have been a mark or a free kick, correct?
I'm trying to properly look at it. In the moment, it looked like a mark. And from what a lot of, because he holds and controls it for a fair bit, but what I'm noticing in that footage is that he doesn't control it, and because of Sam Collins, he doesn't control it to the ground, right? He doesn't place his feet on the ground with the ball. It gets knocked out beforehand, but then you make the argument, is he being tackled? Right? And it very much looks like a tackle.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that kind of works out if you're going to be paying a mark, right? So in the situation, you think, all right, mark's been paid, and he then makes the tackle. You wouldn't call it 50, obviously.
No, it's either a mark or a free kick in most people's minds. In my opinion, it's play on. Completely play on. So we see here, he jumps up, Collins gets a fist in, knocks the ball out, right? That's fair.
But
then people saying
that's a fist.
No, but it is. Look, you see, he knocks the ball out with his hand. His hand comes around, and that's what knocks the ball out.
Through a tackle, though.
No. There's an action first, right? He gets his hand in. That's one action, and then the second action is what people think is a tackle.
No, I think he's going tackle first.
No, he's going.
I think it's if you're going tackle, arms around. Look, no. So he's gone his left arm first.
Yeah, correct.
That's not the one that's doing the spoiling. Though. The right hand does.
No, his left arm goes. No.
First. Look at the footage. Look at the footage.
His left arm goes in first.
His left arm. Yeah, but his right's doing the punch.
No, his left arm gets the ball out.
No, it's the right. It's absolutely the right.
His left arm is what punches the ball out.
It's the first thing that gets him, but the right one punches it out.
No.
Look which way it goes. It goes to the left. That's because the right hand has punched it out.
His right hand does not punch it out. His left
hand. That's his right hand punching it out there.
That's his left hand.
The left. No. The left hand.
His left hand. He comes around and goes like this. His left hand is what punches the ball out.
His left hand.
Are you dyslexic?
His left hand is the one that comes in and takes the tackle, right?
No.
As he's running in, look, that's his left hand.
It hits the ball.
It hits the ball, but his right punches it out.
No.
Yes, it does. I don't know how you see it any other way. Oh, so you can see how contentious it is, right?
Okay. Think of my computer's Rankine. He goes in like he goes in like this. His left hand gets the ball out. His right hand then follows and he takes him to ground. The left hand of Collins is what spoils the ball. Okay? Very clearly, his left hand is what spoils the ball. This is not this is literally facts. Watch his left arm. His left arm spoils the ball.
No, but that's in the emotion of the tackle. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that that he doesn't spoil it. I'm saying that his left hand is going in for the tackle.
I disagree. I think he actually goes to spoil the ball. I think you side with the defender and he goes to spoil the ball.
It's a tough one.
And he barely actually takes him to ground. If he goes and continues him to ground, he lets go pretty quickly as well.
I just can't get over the fact that because it looks more of a tackle, I don't see how you can call it a spoil.
I think he realizes pretty quickly that the ball gets knocked out. I think where most of my complaints come in and why maybe I had thought it was going to be a mark is because we've seen much less paid a mark. Correct. Like with the Josh Weddle one last week. I think that's why it's so contentious. The Josh Weddle one last week against GWS. He didn't even hold the ball for more than half a second. Yeah. He gets the ball, drops it immediately, and that gets paid a mark. Yeah. And there was no outrage basically for that compared to this. Yeah. Anyways, I think we've talked about this one a fair bit. We've got more news segments we want to get to, but what we can definitely tell is that's a contentious topic. Anyways, we move on. You can go through this because this is your boy. Oh, I love seeing this. Guess what? I've been to Adelaide 3 times in 2 years. One of them I spent 2 nights there. The other one I spent 1 night there. The other was a day in, day out. Guess which one I enjoyed the most? Day in. Day in, day out. I loved being a FIFO worker in Adelaide because guess what? I didn't get to see Adelaide. I completely agree with Jack Higgins here. And not because I'm one of the boys he's playing Call of Duty with. Not because he's a Saints player, simply because Adelaide is not a nice place to visit. If you see what Darcy Fogarty said, he said, fair. He can get out as soon as he wants. Then Adelaide made a video about it, asking all the players what he should do. They all said either go to one street along the city or go to the valleys, the Barossa Valley, and drink some wine. Jack Higgins probably can't drink alcohol because of his brain damage.
With the topic of, like, with his response, I'll be playing in my room Call of Duty with the boys. You can tell that wine tours are not his thing.
Yeah, correct.
I'll tell you what, my request this week, I want to play Call of Duty with him. I want to be one of those boys. I want to be one of those boys who plays Call of Duty with Jack Higgins. This is my request. I'm going to tag Jack Higgins in this clip. I don't care. I want to play Call of Duty with him. We'll do it. We'll do it the day of his game at Gather Round.
Play in the morning and at night.
Well, for your sake and your hope, it's going to be after a win.
Yes,
after a win, he
correct.
just jumps on COD. I'll be like, nice one, Higo. Good stuff, mate.
Oh, God, you are so out
That's
of it.
so good, though.
Yes.
We'll move to the last one, though,
Yes.
unless you've got anything else you want to add to that.
The only thing I want to talk about was Will Day, really. That's
Will Day.
the thing that came out today. He'll be out for 3 to 4 months, it says, and it's very disappointing. As a Hawthorn fan, I mean, he couldn't get a crack at it last year in finals, and now he's going to be out probably till finals this year, arguably.
The hope is that he's back in time for finals because he should get a spot.
I mean,
he'll get a run in through the VFL, I'd imagine.
Yeah, 4 months takes you to the start of August, so you got 3 weeks basically to be able to get fit and firing.
That's so tough.
Assume he stays on track. You get 1 week in the VFL, maybe with the issue, and then you're in 2 weeks before the season ends.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very difficult.
And we had him potentially All-Australian with the way he started playing this year.
For sure.
So very, very unfortunate for Will Day and for Hawthorn. I don't know how it's going to affect how they play because how long is... Warple's out for a bit longer.
Warple's out for a few more weeks, but they still have the depth, right?
They
still
do.
got Josh Ward, Cam McKenzie's breaking out. You got Henry Hustwaite, who'll be able to come in from the team. Like, they've got a shitload of talent.
They've at least got some players to help themselves out.
That have been performing really well.
Yep.
So for all the teams to potentially happen to, this is probably the best because of the depths they do have.
Yep. Beautiful.
But, you know, from Hawthorn, one of the best teams in the league, to Carlton, one of the shittest in the league.
Yeah, they've had it
0-4.
Yeah. Don't know how many people predicted this. I think
Not
a pessimistic person, like the most pessimistic person would say, yeah, that's it, would say 1 and 3 because I think they would have thought Richmond, no chance. But we're sitting here talking about Carlton, the team that had expected to be playing and fighting for finals, is now thinking, well, do we really have a chance of making finals if we can't play?
They still do. They
They technically still do. I mean, you look at the other 3. Hawthorn, yes, they'll make finals. Collingwood most likely will make finals.
Bulldogs
pushing.
Yeah.
Richmond obviously no.
Definitely not.
That's why I think they should be 1 and 3.
Yeah.
But of course, that shows how disappointing they've been. You look at their next 2 matchups. West Coast. Do you think they'll beat West Coast?
100%.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh God, if they lose to West Coast,
We've just locked them into.
Yes.
Put
If
their
they
house
are
on West
0-5, we're spending an hour segment on laughing at 0-5 Carlton. But then the week after North Melbourne, and if they show up like they did against Sydney, that should be a win as well.
Yeah,
that should be a win as well. So they bring their season back to 2-4 at that point, presuming everything goes the way we expect it.
Yes.
Obviously, we've seen otherwise through their loss to Richmond, but their best, presuming they play the way they did against Hawthorn.
Hawthorn was probably their best performance.
Hawthorn's probably been one of their best.
The Bulldogs game was their best performance, but they still choked it.
Yeah, now that you think
They
about it.
still choked it.
They held the lead for most of that game. So, that's probably their best technically performance. If they play at that standard, they'll beat both these guys.
Yeah, but looking at the actual problems they have, part of it is coaching. Obviously, Vossi has unfortunately had a big injury list to be able to deal with. There's been lots of injuries for them, but so does every club pretty much. You also look at that
does not excuse the Richmond loss.
No, definitely not.
That does not excuse that.
You then look at some of the decisions he was making with the players he did have available. He's put Brody Kemp forward when we know he's a decent defender. He's put Silvani back when we know he's a competitor up forward. He's tried to play McGovern and Haynes, 2 interceptors who aren't great one-on-one, in the same position, basically. He has not allowed Sam Walsh to thrive, realistically. Like, Sam Walsh's best year was 2021. That wasn't under Voss.
When you say hasn't allowed him to thrive, is it because of his positioning, the way he's been coaching him? Like, what do you mean by that?
Sam Walsh is an outside player. That's what he is. He is a leg drive player who is a pretty good kicker. He likes to get on the outside. He doesn't want to be in and under. So, realistically, his best position is probably on the wing. He's being played as a full-time midfielder. You've got Cripps, you've got Chera, you've got Hewitt. Those are your three that you sit in the middle. Sam Walsh doesn't need to be in there. He can be in there 5 centre bounces a week, but that's not his game. And we've seen off of half-back, if you even want to play him off there, they're lacking that drive. So that's something they could potentially play. But back with the tools, De Koning's been fantastic this year. Wiedering, we know how good he is as an All-Australian. Yet they're still lacking elsewhere. But you've got the options, right? You could play Wiedering, Kemp, Haynes, or McGovern. Don't play both. And then probably Lockie Cowan as your sort of fourth medium tall who plays that Braden Maynard role. Unfortunately, they don't. And obviously we see the defensive lapses. None of them are good decision makers, right? You look at Silvani, he's a forward player, so his decision making in the back line isn't always great. McGovern, Haynes, we talked about it in the look at the game against Collingwood. The amount of mistakes they've made this year leading to direct goals is wild. And then up forward, they're not getting the contest they should be. You look at Mackay and Curnow, both have played 1 or 2 games. Like, realistically, that's not what you want to see. And then Brody Kemp, he's just kicked a goal a week. And if you've got the option to play him down back when you know you're struggling defensively, why not pull that lever? That's where I'm confused. And then even the small forwards, Jesse Motlop struggled this year, right? You've also had Fantasia out for most of it. Fogarty hasn't been able to hit the scoreboard. There's a big problem with that because they traded away Matt Owies, who kicked 35 goals for them last year. You're clearly missing us.
Yeah.
You're missing that small forward pressure.
They're also missing Nick Newman.
Correct.
And I'm thinking, like, how much of this could have been changed if they weren't hit with the injury bug?
Yeah.
But I think that misses the major point in that there's something wrong right now. There's something that's stopping this team from making the leap that so many people expected after their prelim loss against Brisbane. A lot of people expected this team to potentially make a grand final.
Correct.
They'd been struggling for a long time, and everyone thought they had the pieces, but now, obviously, the lack of healthy players hurts. But like, if they were all healthy, are they really a grand final contender?
This is the thing. Like, they traded away a future first and a future second to be able to get in Jagger Smith, as well as trading away Matt Owies. They've had a few injuries this year. If they don't win this year, right, if they don't turn it around, they're not going to have their pick, so there's no point being bad this year. They're going to have to try be good. Then you're also potentially going to lose TDK. It's going to look very grim next year.
I think their major change, and it was my bold hot take, but it isn't looking as bold anymore, is Voss is probably gone. Voss is probably gone if they don't make finals this year.
The way they're sort of reacting, hey, 3 weeks in a row where we've really struggled in second halves, we're not going to come out and do it again, but they do. That almost shows that the coach is no longer getting to his players.
Yeah.
That's a big issue.
Yeah, and I think there's too many things now that we've seen. One of the decisions, like poor decisions that you forgot to mention, is their weird run of Paddy Cripps in the ruck.
Yeah.
Has that happened since round 1?
It still does happen, yes.
I hate that.
It's dumb, but again, when you're playing Silvani in the back line, you don't want to put a backman there. And the other option is Lewis Young. He should not be in the team.
Yeah.
That's the real issue.
If TDK does leave, Carlton's got a really, really rough ruck situation. They're going to have to look for one.
Pit and net. It's pit and net. That's the only option.
And injured.
Correct. Literally.
It's a really, like, and that's probably why I think so much is like, how far are we overreacting? But the reality is they're now sitting 0-4. They need to have a look at what needs to change because there's no way that this, despite if they win the next 2 games as we think they may do, there's no way that this is what they're happy with. There's no way this is acceptable to them.
And they're not the only 0-4 team at the moment. We also have Melbourne. Sorry.
But this one is very much following what we had said in the sense that they are a boom or bust.
Yeah.
We had high hopes after their close loss to GWS, but now it looks like the writing is on the wall. This is a bust. This is a bust year, unfortunately. We knew that once they had lost to North by that much of a margin. Their big loss to Gold Coast looked like a bottom 4 performance. Their loss to Geelong looked like a bottom 4 performance in the sense that they had just been so overrun.
Yeah.
They got like leaps and bounds over the top of them in the sense that the ball was so filthy when it was in their hands, and much cleaner once in Geelong's hands. Same with the Gold Coast game. It felt like every time Melbourne had the ball, you were counting down the kicks as to when they'd turn it over, right? And Bottom 4 teams have that feeling, right? I
It's
know.
It's an inevitability with them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it is.
You feel it a bit with West Coast in the sense that you wonder, all right, they're making this nice little play up the wing, but where are they going to mess up?
Correct.
Where is this happening? And unfortunately, I'm getting that a lot with Melbourne now. This is now their lowest scoring week. You could blame it for many reasons, but it feels like their forwards are struggling more and more. Fritsch, the biggest example.
Yeah, they haven't kicked more than 75 points.
Fritsch is the biggest example for me.
From
I've
his
seen him play.
2021 year compared to this year, huge drop off.
He looks so much more sloppy, and I don't know what it could possibly be because we know what his peak looks like. We've seen it. That it's a massive reason as to why they want a premiership. But the fact that he is struggling seems to be a massive indicator for the entire forward line. It's like the headline.
Huge.
He is the headliner for the entire forward. The only main positive I've seen, Clary looks to be back on the ball.
He does.
Two positives, and Cade Chandler.
Clary's increasing his trade value.
That's it does feel like
Cade
that.
Chandler's just proving why he should be in the team every week and should get more opportunities because he's the only one taking it. Like Trent Rivers, they played him in a lot of centre bounces in the back end of last year. He hasn't played more than 5 this year, I don't think. Like, they looked at so many positives potentially at the back end of last year that the coaches just have not looked at this year, and that's a big problem. And I think that when you're looking at the coaching staff, you talked about it with Vossy, it should be the same with Goodwin.
Yeah.
You've had 1 year, 2021, where everything went right. You have the same issues every year since, and nothing's changed. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So it's a big issue for them, and we'll see how they respond.
I think Melbourne are in a worse spot than Carlton, purely based off the fact that who are their next matchups? I don't think they've got. I mean, they definitely don't have it as
this week.
They definitely don't have it as easy. No way, and no one thinks that they've got anything to back it up. This is like they are much healthier than Carlton are. Right, they've got their midfield. Max Gawn. Clayton Oliver, Christian Petrarca, they've got those guys.
The next 3, they've got Adelaide Oval, Essendon, MCG, Dockers, MCG, Richmond, Optus Stadium, West Coast.
So there is a stretch there.
Yeah, and then they got Hawthorn and Brisbane.
Yeah, so, I mean, if we want to consider these guys as not lost, they've got to win against Essendon. Absolutely against Richmond, absolutely against West Coast.
100%.
If that's what we want to honestly to save Goodwin's job.
I don't want him to save his job. They should lose.
They really, if they're smart, they should. Yeah. But like, would it really be beneficial? No. I mean, we made fun of Essendon in a wrong sense. That should be put on these guys.
It should, and they don't have their first round.
They don't have their first round pick this year.
Oh, well.
We got that wrong with Essendon. We should be laughing as much at these guys because
it's fun to laugh at Essendon.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. I'm one who will absolutely laugh at
We couldn't do
it
this week.
Yeah,
we could have had a bar.
God damn it! No, these guys, I think, are in a much worse situation than Carlton. And it's a shame because I remember just the year after their premiership, I'm like, I can't see these guys ever losing a game. No. They look so dominant. Yeah. And now it's changed. It feels like it's changed so quickly.
Well, we've rambled a lot about 2 teams. It's time to listen to the fans ramble.
Yes.
Let's listen to the fans with thanks, Basil.
Yes, he's back. He's back. I will. Back. No, we are not singing. I will very quickly mention. Sorry. Okay. I will very quickly mention that we are still hoping to try and get you guys more involved. So if you have an instant reaction, of course, be sure to try and get us a voice note through Instagram if you can. Do we want to try and put our email in the description?
If you do want to actually try and get on, we do have an email set up. It will be in the description below. It's zeroaccessfooty@gmail.com. You can either send us a voice message through that or potentially try on Instagram. We don't know. But if not, just comment on one of our videos, comment on
say something.
A YouTube comment. Like, just say it and we'll put it in the video next week if we say it.
Absolutely. So we'd love to get as many as we can. Again, the week where we had multiple of them, it was a fantastic segment.
Yes.
But of course, we thank Mr. Epstein, not the one you're thinking of. We've got Behm's uncle.
Yes.
He is the one that's going to give us his information. And, I mean, he's a very happy Saints fan.
I'm sure he will be this
He's
week.
a very happy Saints fan. Let's listen
hear
in.
it. Let's hear it.
Hey, Basil. Another great win by the Saints.
Hey, Basil.
getting rid of some of those Adelaide Oval
Cut it.
hoodoos.
No,
beating
thanks,
the piss
Basil.
week
Nah.
Port Power this week. That was awesome. Came back and responded to round one's pathetic efforts. Great to see the players starting to build a momentum going further into the season. 5 tough weeks up ahead for the Saints, but I tell you what, Port Adelaide would have been pissed off that they didn't get every free kick under the sun.
Again with the free
at least
kicks.
they're not as bad as Carlton, Melbourne, and a few other crappy teams like North Melbourne as well. West Coast just as pathetic. But I guess the battle of the wooden spoon this week in gather round for Carlton and West Coast. Who could be the shitter team? Anyway, that's it for me for the week. Back to you, Behm. Back to you, Reginald.
Reginald. Oh, God.
took a bit of a deep dive after Rupert last week.
Rupert was so good because
Rupert was just...
Reginald. It's a reach. It's a reach.
Oh, well.
It's all right. But yeah, another positive week from him. I love him so much. I love the way he can go on about every single team that isn't his sometimes.
Oh, you know.
He's in a very good... Imagine they lose like the next 5, right?
Oh, he'll be even funnier by then. Don't you
Do you
worry.
reckon he still goes after other teams? Maybe it'll be like he thinks
Maybe.
it's rigged or something still.
Nah, he's not like that. Anyway.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, good on him. But yeah, positive Saints things. The Battle of the Wooden Spoon, I hadn't even realised, but yeah.
Correct. But the greatest segment in all of YouTube history.
In all of AFL media.
In all of AFL media.
Because you have
in all
no
of
access.
YouTube history.
Because it means nothing.
Because I have no access and I can talk freely. And guess what? To the AFL, please hire me.
You are not taken by big AFL yet.
Correct.
Yet.
Correct. Okay. We've got 5 things to talk about this week.
5? Oh my God. All right.
First one is Dan Houston's bump, right? You know what the funniest thing in the world
I
is?
shouldn't laugh.
You know what the funniest thing in the world is?
What's the funniest
Dan
thing?
Houston says, I've gone to protect myself. That's his defense.
That angle there. Oh,
I know.
I've got to protect myself. Where?
Literally.
Look at this. That's a wind up as well. He's protected himself.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Man, I would not want to get on his bad side. That is
So-
scary.
Clearly hasn't.
I mean, he is pretty protected.
You know,
to be
the
fair.
ball's bounced double his height, and he's just gone bang.
That angle is so bad.
So the
I'm going to
MRO,
keep laughing if I keep looking at it.
the MRO have graded this as careless contact, which again, this is clearly intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
High impact, which yes, it is high, but high contact. High contact, which it is high impact. I think this is bordering of high and severe. I think there's a very clear argument you could make for this to be 3 weeks, but it has to be a minimum of 3 weeks. Where's the 2 weeks in this? Tom Stewart got 4 weeks. This is just as bad as that.
I was going to say,
his
this
bump on
is
Prestia.
2 weeks. This was given 2 weeks.
Yeah, this was given as 2 weeks. Stewart's bump on Prestia was 4 weeks, if you remember that one from a few years ago.
Yes, I do remember that one. That one was really bad.
Right.
But again,
Both
it's
ran-
outcome. Look, he's
I know.
down. But Prestia was basically dead man walking
Yeah.
at that point.
This is the problem, right? The AFL continue to go result over action. This will keep happening and they'll continue to get 2 weeks where it should be punished harder and then it won't happen again and then don't have to give another 2 weeks.
If he managed to walk that off, right?
Yeah.
He did manage to get back up, didn't he? But if he was
He did.
barely affected, right? If he managed to kind of shrug it off, right, and keep
Yeah.
playing, obviously it would have been taken off for the test. But he would have gotten a week.
Oh, yeah, literally.
It is, if he hadn't got up, right, and that
It's
gives me a
5
really,
weeks.
if someone figures that out, say if someone like, especially for Carlton's sake, if Paddy Cripps came in and knocked someone and knocked someone high, right? If the player then lied down, took it for a bit, like, could they manipulate that?
Oh, I'm sure they could.
I feel like they really could, and I'm really worried that's going to mess things up.
It's so
really,
dumb.
really worried.
The one I want to make a comparison is the only reason this didn't get a Maynard sort of reaction on the bump on Brayshaw is the speed, right? The only reason he wasn't actually concussed is pretty slow. Problem is, he's gone like this, and it's not like he stayed like this, which is what Maynard did. He's gone like that. He's properly swung out with his elbow. To me, you can argue this is intentional. You could argue this is severe. That's pushing 7 weeks. You take a look at the Webster one, that was 7 weeks. That was intentional, high contact, and severe impact.
Outcome. It is outcome.
Completely outcome.
Outcome.
So I just don't understand how this is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's such a dumb one. But again,
I hated this one.
Moving on to Ollie Dempsey's.
I saw this live and I'm like, Oscar. Not actually, no,
Ollie,
not an Oscar.
Not Oscar.
No,
Ollie.
I mean, deserves an Oscar.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
No, I mean, like, oh, God, it is so late. It is so late.
Such a bad one. It's such a bad one.
Oh,
He's already landed.
I'm so glad this happened the week after Ben Hobbs has won, though.
Yes.
Because now we can properly, now we can actually put the foot down.
Now I'm thinking, okay, you saw the Ben Hobbs one.
Yeah.
Why would you go and do this? It's almost as if we've got cameras everywhere. I'm sorry. It's not even like he's gone and then he's gone.
Yeah,
he's
but
gone
it's thinking
and then it's like that.
It's not thinking, right, it's not thinking, oh, this is going to cost me some money. He's thinking, how am I going to get a free kick? How am I
50
going to get the
metre.
ball? You want to
Yeah.
know what the problem is? Yeah, he's marked the ball. That's why I don't know why he's gone to ground.
He's
are you
completely landed.
Are you going for a high free kick?
It's so dumb.
You've
and he
got
gets
the
off,
mark.
And I've got it written here, FFS. It's called fixed financial sanction because it's only a fine.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, AFL. That's what I'm calling it. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, no,
Okay?
that's fair.
Next one is Darcy Byrne-Jones, I believe. He's won his bump. Yep, his bump on Ryan Burns. To me, this is very similar to the Houston on.
Well, it is an
Fogarty.
intentional bump.
It's an intentional. So you cannot argue that this is not intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been graded
intentional.
as careless, medium impact, and high contact.
Again, he's gotten straight back up. So that's the
Again,
reason
correct.
why.
So result over action.
Yeah.
This one's worse because the ball's there. He can go for the ball. And we saw in action multiple times in
It just
multiple
makes
games.
me think of the Jackson Archer one though.
Yeah.
Because he's
How's
gone
that
to
3
ground.
weeks?
He's gone to ground. I don't understand how we're going to judge all of these based off of if it more and more feels like there's no
no clarity. There's no continuity.
it feels like the rubric doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Like, he has purposely not gone for the ball and gone to bump. That is exactly what intentional means.
Yeah.
It's not a careless act like what Maynard's was. He has purposefully gone to bump Burns. I don't understand how you can argue that is not intentional, which bumps it up to 3. Then you talk about the impact.
My thing is, maybe it doesn't matter though, because you think, right, it didn't matter for Jackson Archer, so because he's gone to ground, right, to get the ball. Same as
Burns has stayed over the top. You look at it. Burns is staying.
Yeah, no, you can make that argument.
Burns is staying over. He's got his head over the ball. He almost tries to pull out of it before Byrne-Jones gets there, right?
It's not the situation as well because Jackson Archer's right. He got him because he clipped him as he'd been tripped up.
Yeah, exactly.
This one looks more like, head over the ball.
This is arguably the worst one all weekend, and it got 1 week. It just makes no sense. I think this
outcome. Outcome.
Yeah.
Outcome. I'll say it every time.
Yeah.
It is outcome based,
Yeah.
and I hate it. I hate it so much because, depending on how he reacts, right? Imagine he stayed out a bit longer. Imagine if he went onto the bench.
Imagine he had to go get an HIA test. Completely changes it.
That could, I legitimately could give him more weeks, and
Yeah.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that it's up to.
It's so
It's up
confusing.
to the victim.
It's so confusing, literally.
Next one.
Bailey Frisch. This was tunneling.
Tunneling, yep, I
So we
remember
talked
this one.
about this last week with the Lawson Humphreys and Callum Archie one. I said that should be a suspension. I said that could be arguably 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
And then this one probably should be the same.
Yeah, this one
Doesn't
looks
have
a
a
lot
play-
more. Does it look more intentional? It's definitely intentional.
It's just as intentional, but it's less severe, right?
Yeah.
The problem is he's not watching the ball, he's not making a play on the ball, and he very clearly goes to nudge Stewart. So I don't understand how that's not A, intentional, B, medium impact, because he has knocked him out, and then C, understands his body contact. That should be at least 1 week. That makes it 1 week. So they've gone careless, low impact body contact. That's all technically correct based off of their own standings, but it's just dumb standings. That's the problem. This one is just, why is he even doing it in the first place?
Yeah.
Because you're allowed to. They get away with it. You get a fine for that. You can do it now. Watch,
And
we'll
it's the
see.
idea,
We'll
how do
see
you
it
stamp-
more.
Yeah, I was
Instead
gonna
of
say, you
pushing
need to
players now.
Stamp it out. I always really think you should stamp this stuff out.
Yeah.
In the idea of the other ones, right, bumps and stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's more intentional bumps than others, and I think that's where most of the punishment should be done, in the sense that if you mean to do something, right, if you are going in for a bump and they go to ground, right? They go to ground and you accidentally get them high, right? You were looking to bump them. You weren't looking to take them out from the head. You should judge it based off that.
Yeah.
But if they were stretch it off the ground, that could be the difference between you getting 3 weeks, or if they shook it off and walked off, the difference between 1 week. And I hate that. I really hate that, because the action itself should be the punishment. Should be what the punishment's based off.
Like this could have been so much worse if he actually gets under him and he lands almost on his back instead of getting on his knees. That's a potential back injury, which does shitloads.
Look
of
at his
damage.
arms too, right? I've seen so many injuries where they're going to brace themselves from a situation like this, right? When you're horizontal and you're not in control of your body, your arms instinctively go out.
You break them.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You'll see it in so many sports, right? The minute that they lose control in air, arms are out. They're looking for a brace.
Yeah. It's such a dumb decision. But the last one we're talking about is Oscar Baker. He had a bump on, I believe it was Andy Brayshaw.
This footage is incredible.
Yes. We've got
Here
a
we
better
go.
option here.
Yeah, that's a bad choice.
He got 1 week. It's late. But again, he's at this point still making a play on the ball, right? He almost gets there. He's trying to knock the ball out.
Yeah.
He just gets him late. This is a 1 weeker, maybe 2 if he gets more.
Brayshaw
played out the game, so I think it's 1 week.
I think for the sake of, if we want to stay true to what we've mentioned before and how we want punishments to be off of action, I think, that is 1 week, because he has made the choice to go for a bump and it hasn't paid off.
Correct.
And thankfully he played out the rest of the game. That may be a reason why he only got the one. Imagine Brayshaw's done for the game.
Yeah.
Could be more.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best to kind of make this all like familiar to each other and not try and like go different standards for some things over others. But I think, 1 week I think is correct for this one. He's made a choice. It hasn't paid off.
Yeah.
He is the one who's clearly made the poor decision.
Yeah.
1 week. If he had intentionally had booked it for his head, right?
Yeah.
Then you think, how much more do we go? I don't think he's going for his head. I think he's legitimately going for a bump, and it's just poor execution.
You can see the ball bounces up, and that's why he tries to lean in, I think, at least.
Yeah.
You can make the argument that he's probably leaning into Brayshaw. I think he's leaning into trying to get the ball. Problem is he does brace for the contact, and he does get him high, which is where I could probably see a 2 weeker.
Yeah.
That's all.
Again, you just base it off of his action. I hate the fact that this could have... I'm very aware that could have been changed. That decision and suspension could have been changed. If Brayshaw was done for the game, was out a couple of weeks due to concussion, they would have upped it. And I hate that. I hate that so much. Either give him the suspension that you would give him if he managed to keep playing out the game, even if he is done for the game. Right. Yeah. And maybe that can influence people to say, but if he's done for the game, surely a bigger punishment. No, keep this. If he's doing the same action, you've got to stay true on both sides. You got to stay true.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap. Behm's Tribunal tasks. Week 5 or 6 we're in now with Behm's Tribunal tasks. And we've had a shitload of
content. And we're
content.
still going.
Stronger
We're
than
never going to
ever.
fix it. As long as Behm's Tribunal tasks is around, there's always a problem to be
It's like
discussed.
that little kid meme.
Shut up, bro. How are you making yourself look older than me? That's embarrassing. That's
You're
really...
telling me you don't know that?
No, I know that.
Okay, good.
I know the meme, but that's not good for you.
What do you mean?
If I know the meme that you're referencing...
Mate, you're like 5 years older than me. It's not
Oh,
that
so
bad.
now it's... that gets on my nerves because the amount of 80-year-old jokes I get now. You're only 5 years older than me. Shut up, bro. Shut up. Don't look at me like that. I know you're trying to wind me up now. Oh my God. This is going to be part of the schizo edit, isn't it?
Damn it.
I knew it. I clocked onto it. All right, let's move on. We've got ourselves our key matchup for this one. This round is Collingwood versus Sydney. Now, this is looking a little bit more interesting now with the fact that the Swans have moved up to 9th. So, obviously, blockbuster in the sense, both pretty big sides. Is this one being played in Victoria or New South Wales?
It's gather round, mate.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, God.
Neither of them have home field
Hey,
advantage.
you are really fucking old. Jesus Christ.
Whoops.
Start off.
I didn't see that. Sorry. There's a glare right on it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can see it.
Excuse. Maybe you need glasses. now.
Leave me alone.
Collingwood. They're 3-1. Swans 2-2. Look at the key back matchups for Collingwood and Swans forward line. Hayward's in fantastic form.
He's been fantastic, yeah.
You got McCartan and Amati. Sorry,
not McCartan. We didn't want McCartan.
Correct.
McLean.
We wanted McLean and Amati. And then you've got a couple other small forwards sitting around. You've got, is it Hanley? I think his name is.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And then a couple others that I can't remember the name of. I'm really out of it on Swans football at the moment.
It's not Papley at the moment.
Correct. Darcy Moore probably goes to McLean, I dare say. And then you put Jeremy Howe onto Joel Amati. I dare say that's the key matchups. You got Maynard, who probably plays on Hayward. I think that's probably a really interesting matchup to see how that works out. And then Warner sort of plays there. Braden Campbell's been a small forward at times as well this year. And I dare say maybe Houston goes to Campbell because he likes to play up the ground. Oh, yeah, true. That sort of does lead into where my prediction lies. But look at the midfield, really interesting battle. You got Heaney, Warner, Rowbottom, really good keys there.
James Jordan is the other forward that played last week.
Yes, he does a lockdown role. So he probably goes to Dacos this week, actually. Plays a bit more in the middle. Allows Warner and Heaney to get a bit more damage up forward. The ruck battle will be interesting. Grundy was fantastic last week. Darcy Cameron's been in great form all year. I think where they feed the midfield will be very interesting. As I have a fucking hair in my mouth.
You're disgusting,
that was horrible. And then you look at the Pies midfield, you got Sidebottom, who's been pretty good ever since halfway through last year, being in there. Pendlebury likes to play a bit of a tagging role now. They've used him against Cripps like that.
That's insane.
Apparently he's played that a few times on Cripps before, so that's interesting. Whether they do that to Heaney,
I can't believe that Pendlebury is playing a tagging role.
Yeah,
I can't because you feel like that's a young bull who would do something like that.
It's footy smarts. That's where he goes. You got Dacos playing in there. Jack Crisp goes in there as well. I think Sydney probably get that slightly with the edge. And then Sydney's backline, it's tough to say who McCartan goes to. Ramby probably goes to Myercheck. And then dare say Joel Hamlin goes to Membry. And that leaves McCartan to McStay. I think that's probably where it lies, just simply the physicality.
Blakey will be that floater that he usually is.
Correct.
Wicks, Florent, Roberts.
Yeah,
the other three that I'm seeing from last week.
Schultz isn't playing, so McCreary probably goes to Blakey. I dare say that's how they want to play it. You got maybe Florent going. No, Wicks goes to Hill. Florent goes to Elliott, and that's sort of how it works. That's a good matchup for Sydney, I think, in every one of those. So I'm giving the edge again here to Sydney. I think you'll analyse it. Sydney gets the edge in almost every aspect.
If they have played the way they did last week against Collingwood, I can see it going that way for sure. But I think we could be overstating how good Sydney is on paper. Because you think, in the sense, how good has Florent be?
He's been a very good halfback flanker. He averages 22 touches a game.
Maybe I'm just thinking of his bad moments, but I think a lot of moments from Florent have been a bit sketchy at times.
At times, yeah.
So maybe he has one of those types of games, and for his sake, I hope it doesn't. Blakey, I feel like he's always a really, really solid player. But
Riley Bice too, he's been great.
Riley Bice, absolutely. I should have. Yeah, I was going to say Riley Bice
Macca's Man of the Week.
One to watch. Yeah, probably. He has been one to watch for sure. I'm surprised he's not currently favourite for Rising Star. Maybe
I think he's too old. I don't think he can win it because I think he's over 21.
Really? I learn new things from you every day.
Every day?
Every day
I didn't think we talked that much.
Yeah, well, you taught me how to use TikTok the other day, which was really cool.
Sounds like a son and his grandpa.
I'm never beating the old man allegations. I'm never beating them. I've just accepted it at this point. I love being in environments where I'm really young too. So if I'm the youngest in at work or something, I'm just happy because everyone's you've got so much life left to live. I'm like, thanks guys. For viewers' knowledge, I'm 24 years old.
Almost 25.
I'm more than half a year away from that.
You're almost 80. Anyway, let's talk. You continue talking about the game, please. Love you too, mate. Love you too.
Back on topic. I think if we're looking on paper, right, you've analysed the matchups and you seem to think that the Swans will take it. Gather round. Oh, man. It's really just a matter of who kind of gets the matchup, like the individual matchup, like
Spot on.
takeovers. I think if the Pies forward line plays better than they have, I think, at certain points during their most recent stretch, they've done enough to get over the top. I think their game against the Dogs is probably one that I always seem to go back to because their forward was never really firing. But they did enough to get over the top. And I think that's because their matchups in the midfield.
Yep.
Dacos had a fantastic game. I think Sidebottom did really well at times. He had a few mistakes here and there, but made up for it with that goal at the end. I think Sidebottom, Pendlebury, especially Pendlebury. If Pendlebury can keep up his usual standard of skill, I think he becomes one you've got to look at. And then Dacos, he has been quiet more than he's been on fire. I think the Dogs has been the only game where he's really broken out. He was pretty quiet last week. Relied a bit more on the others around him to get the cleaner disposals. But at the same time, if he can get his usual play, if he can break off his man as he continues to learn to do, then he could easily put them over the top. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think.
What would you say the game will end up with? Who do you think wins?
I kind of want to go Collingwood.
Yeah, you seem to lean that way.
I'm kind of wanting to lean Collingwood's way. I'm just trying to think if the back line's going to hold up against their forward line, and I think they could. Darcy Moore in his best games can.
Yeah.
Braden Maynard can obviously be an impact player. I hate that I'm probably making Ethan smile back there. If they play the way they did against Carlton, I don't think they'll take it.
Yeah.
I really don't think so.
Okay.
I think they're going to have to play probably the way they did against Port, despite the fact that it was Port.
Okay.
They smashed them.
Winning margins
so
for Collingwood, given you say Collingwood will win.
I think Collingwood by 10 to 12.
Okay. I said seeing Sydney win, and I'm not changing that. Still backing them to finish really, really well.
Yep.
And I think even though Collingwood played well in second half, Sydney also played extremely well in second half. So I'm probably edging towards a 20-point win for the Swans here. I think they're the outfit that's looking more balanced, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. I think in the sense that Collingwood as well, right, they've not got Dan Houston, so maybe that's loss. One that I've got to take into account. But I think the Pies have the personnel to look after the Swans, even though the Swans maybe you'd think on a matchup scale, and I definitely agree in a sense. I think in a matchup scale, Swans could take it, but I then think if these certain players, like if Darcy Cameron can beat Brodie Grundy in the individual matchup, which he's more than capable of doing.
Yeah.
Grundy's been playing fantastic to start the season, but Cameron, we know how good he can be. If he can beat him there, that gives them an advantage within the middle. If Dacos can break out and not have his quiet week as he did, then that's a massive plus for them. If Pendles can play his role, especially the role that he seems to be fitting into, that'll be huge for him. I'm just trying to think, will that, though, be enough to get them over the top of the larger scale matchup against the whole back line of Sydney being so solid against sides like this. Blakey obviously being a big part of it. I don't want to ramble too much about the individual standouts, but I think Collingwood on a day where they play up to their standard can take this one. I think they can. I think they can do it.
Okay. Well, the last segment we're going to talk about is ranking the league. And this week, we're talking about key forwards.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought we already ranked the league. No, we are talking about our best key forwards.
Last week was ranking new signings and trade players. This week, it's the key forwards. There's been a lot of talk this week. And I think it's time to talk about it for us because we didn't really do rankings. We didn't have the time at the start of the year because it was a very recent podcast starting. But it's time to do it. I wanted to do this.
I'm sure you've all been waiting for this.
Yes.
All right. So, where do you want to start?
It doesn't have to be these five, but these are just the five. Who do you think is going to be the best key forward, A, by the end of this year, and B, at the end of 2 years' time?
2 years, okay. So, are we going to say just Coleman medalist this year as best, or most impactful key forward? Most impactful. Oh, I'd completely cross out all of Adelaide then, because I think while they are impactful in their own sense, I think they can all lean on each other a lot more. And I think an individual who's doing as well I'd consider more impactful because they need to play a higher role.
Yep.
They need to be more impactful in order to shine.
Yep.
That being said, right now, I'd say no to Larky. I think Larky's good, but not impactful enough. Ben King has been showing signs, but again, not impactful enough. I'd go Jesse Hogan.
Yeah.
I think Jesse has been really, really good.
Kicked 9 on the weekend.
Yeah, again, maybe recency bias, but the sense that when he is in the game, right, one-on-one, he seems to have kept his standard up from last year and brought it into the start of this year, which is fantastic news for Giants fans. But
however many there are.
but the Giants, are absolutely loving his impact. And the fact that Toby Green has had such a fantastic start this year as well has made that forward line very, very close to best. Again, I still think it's Adelaide, but definitely top 3 to top 5 for GWS in terms of their forward line. Purely based off of those two even as well, right?
Yeah.
Their forward line is so good with a recent Coleman medalist, the most recent Coleman medalist, and Toby Green playing at his standard. So I give most impactful to Jesse Hogan, who I think will be the best in 2 years' time. It's hard to move past Sam Darcy because he's
Really
just
is.
so versatile. There's so much he can do. He can take contested pack marks, move up the ground, deliver with accuracy, and kick goals. He can do so much as a key forward. And I think a close second would be Riley Thilthorpe.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe Darcy Fogarty because of the fact that Tex, I don't know how much longer he's going to be impacting. I don't know. I think he could be impacting until the end of his career.
Okay.
When is the end of his career, though?
Yep.
And I don't know whether it'll be done within the next 2 years or not. I can't be the one to decide that. But Thilthorpe, I think, out of Fogarty and Thilthorpe, I think he's got. I think Thilthorpe's got a higher ceiling. I think Fogarty is a safer pick.
Yeah. Okay,
I think in terms of a floor, Darcy Fogarty's got a higher floor, right? So Thilthorpe's worse is worse than Fogarty's worse, if that makes sense. But then you talk ceiling, Thilthorpe's here, Fogarty's here.
Yeah.
So like less room for Fogarty to kind of move in and out between bad and good, but it's not as good as Thilthorpe's best. Okay, so fair. I think that could be the reason why Thilthorpe comes in a close second, but I just can't go past Sam Darcy. He's a scary man.
Yeah. The way I see it, I think Ben King could probably be the best at the end of this year in terms of the ball is getting delivered to him. The fact that he is simply give me the ball and I will kick a goal. He's been inaccurate to start the year. But aside from that, I think he has really shown that he knows that where the ball is coming from now. He's had a few years to be able to gel with Rowell and Anderson. No one else has that quality of ball deliverance. Like Thilthorpe's got Rankine and Dawson, yes, but Rowell and Anderson is a step above. And I think this year specifically, it's his to take. He's played 3 games and kicked 12 goals. Hogan's played 2 games and kicked 13. But, you know,
that's off
he's
a
also
9
played
bag.
West Coast.
Yeah, 9-goal bag against West Coast. So have Gold Coast played West Coast?
They did, but again, West Coast, that was first week. Much better effort from West Coast. So
yeah. Either way, I think Hogan still sits on the advantage at the moment.
Yeah.
Currently, it seems to be those two are the main stage leaders.
Yeah.
Close as like Larky, Fogarty, Thilthorpe. Those guys are pretty close.
It's a very interesting topic, and I think that
Higgins.
It's exciting to say. Yeah. Not a key forward, but, you know,
he's still kicking goals, and that's all that matters.
It's a very interesting topic because you've got so many options now.
Now, who do you reckon is best in 2 years?
Darcy. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. You just off of what I said.
You can't stop him.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, yeah.
It's all up to really whether he takes another step next year.
Correct.
And he's taken a massive one this year.
Yeah.
With
he's got
more
shit
time.
around him too. Aaron Norton, you're gone, mate. So he's got nothing
Jamara's
to compete
gone
with.
before he is, to be fair, but
he might have no one next to him. It might just be him.
Dude, if he's in a Larky situation, that's going to be so interesting to watch.
Yeah, get Jack Darling down to the
Bulldogs. the Darling tour, is that what that's going to be? Where he just goes to every team that desperately needs a forward.
Yeah, him and Tim Memory are just going to go whoop, 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 whoop.
All right.
Be used.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're both in agreement on who we think will be the most impactful.
Yeah.
In 2 years' time, but I think one that's
nowadays it's very
someone that we didn't point out is Charlie Curnow.
Nah, bugger off.
Not a fan of Charlie Curnow. He's still fairly strong. He's still good one-on-one.
In 2 years, no.
I think it's just in 2 years, no. I think this year, if he wasn't so hurt, he could be the best.
Anyway, we have our tips for Gather Round.
Yeah, Gather Round.
Third iteration of Gather Round. Some very interesting games this week.
I was going to Gather Round.
Which ones can we just skip over? Freo are destroying the Tigers.
Yep.
Blues should whack the Eagles.
I think Hawk... Oh... I want to say Hawks will whack Port, but I don't think they'll whack them. I think they'll convincingly
they'll
win
but they won't whack them.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the games now. Crows, Cats.
Suns will smack Rhys.
Yeah. Crows, Cats, I think, is a good game to kick us off.
Yeah, very good.
That's something interesting. Geelong have been up and down to start the year, but they look to get back again on the winners list with 2 in a row against Melbourne and obviously now Adelaide, hopefully. But Adelaide, they're at home. They've got a really strong forward line. There's going to be no Jack Henry, so I'm very much leaning towards the Crows.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the Crows showed really any signs of weakness. I mean, they probably were broken open a little bit. Obviously, they had to lose.
Yeah.
So there's clearly something that worked against them. But the Crows are still a very tough. You can analyze it and you can recognize it, but if you haven't, found out how to do it in game, if you can't execute on it mid-pressure, mid-game, then the Crows will eat you alive, especially that back line.
They get Crouch back too, so
Sam De Koning, as good as he is, he can't take all 3 of them.
No, he's also playing in the ruck anyway, so it's that.
Yeah, will they put more of a emphasis on because Blitzarves didn't play. Rhys Stanley ended up.
Yeah,
I think it was an illness too. So Blitzarves is expected to come back. So I'd imagine they give Blitzarves more of the role in the ruck and hope that De Koning will be able to do his thing in the back line. So I don't think maybe he'll get the odd run in the ruck, but I think De Koning will find himself much more in the back line. Yeah. It's just purely because you need to when you're up against Adelaide right now.
Yep.
Pies versus Swans.
We talked about this. Yeah,
one.
I have Swans. You've got Pies.
Yep.
We both have Gold Coast beating North.
I don't want to talk about that one.
Yep. Okay, fair enough. We both have Carlton beating West Coast, I'm assuming.
Yes. As much as I want to say Eagles for the lols, I think best case scenario is going to be reality in this sense that the Blues take it.
Yeah, I think Brisbane Bulldogs as well. Not necessarily reality for the Bulldogs, but they're showing signs of coming back down after not having all the troops back.
50-50. I've said it so many times. The Dogs are a textbook 50-50 side.
Yeah.
You get the best of them against some of the best teams, and you can get the worst of them against some of the worst teams. But they know how to middle out really well. I'm going Lions.
Yeah.
Lions in a comfortable 25-point win.
Melbourne Essendon. I'm very split on this game. I think this is probably Melbourne leaning slightly.
I was going to say, God, we talked about how good the matchups were for Crows and Gold Coast. The matchups are awful for these. That back versus forward is going to be a disgusting sight.
No
the
lead
D's
off.
forward versus the Bummers back. Bailey Fritsch is going to take a mark from 15 out, miss it to the point side. Ben McCar's going to go and kick it in, kick it straight back. It's going to be entertaining, but it's going to be tough to watch.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Bombers by. I'm going to go Bombers by 20.
I'm leaning Melbourne by about 13, I think.
Do you reckon their midfield gets over them?
Their midfield gets over them. They're going to want to bounce back. You saw Petrarca stuff, all that.
They're going to want to bounce back every week, though.
Yeah, but
and
this
D's
is
look more like a bottom four side.
It's a game that, it's Essendon.
You are onto something there.
I'm hooking really good.
Remember who it is.
Yeah, correct.
We don't need to say much about Tigers v Freo. We know
Giants.
how it'll probably go.
Giants Saints. I mean,
is he thinking 4-1?
I'd love to win, but realistically, the Giants, they just whacked West Coast. They are just in really good form. They don't have any injuries. They'll get Keneally. I'm sure they're going to whack us. I've got no problem with that. I'm assuming you're tipping GWS too.
I'm going to say Saints.
Oh, no.
I have so much faith in your team, Behm. I reckon they're going all the way this year. I reckon they're going to make it to the top 4. I reckon they're going to have 2 weeks min.
If we win, if we both win and make top 4 this year, God only knows what I'm going to do to you.
What does that mean?
You're going to have to find out.
Oh, my God. All right, last one. We've got Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. The only thing that makes me skeptical of the outcome is the fact that it's Port Adelaide at Adelaide. But I'm still going Hawthorn.
I'm not.
Fair enough.
Big tip. I think, obviously, the shocking game against Saints, but they're going to want to bounce back, and who better to bounce back against the team that you've won a semi-final against? We know that there's a lot of talk. I think there's going to be a bit of
Would
a
that
hole.
not motivate Hawthorn a bit more?
It will as well, but there's also no Will Day, so you're losing that. I think...
You did go on, though, about how much talent they have. Obviously, Will Day's a big
but
out.
nothing compares to Will Day. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think Port Adelaide's midfield now, there's no Warple, there's no Will Day. You got Newcomb, you got Ward, McKenzie, and the Irish bloke, what's his name, Connor Nash. Against Horn Francis, Butters, Rosie, Wines, and Drew. I think there's a clear edge there. Don't play Ollie Wines as your second ruck, please.
Did they do that?
They did that.
Oh, my God.
And I mean, it was against...
No, Ken!
Yeah.
Ken Hinkley, what are you doing?
How did Kane Corns not go off against them for that? But, I just think this is the week that they just go bang and everything just falls their way. I think that's sort of where it lands.
I think it's possible. I think you could be right, but I still think Hawthorn, right? As I've said, I think Hawthorn's a top 4 lock. And if they're going to prove that, they're going to win this one in a way that makes you think, why did we think Port? They just lost to St Kilda. Why did we think Port?
Fair.
I think, I think the way the script has written it should be Hawthorn, but Port should definitely be able to put up some fights.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We'll see how it goes, though.
Correct.
We're
done.
We're done.
Episode 7's done.
Oh my God, we
on
keep going. How are we still going? But once again,
it's finally updated. We got Spotify on there. Woo!
Yes, very nice. So as you can see at the top there on our lovely screen, we now have Spotify. We've mentioned it previously. It's not like we've never had Spotify, but Spotify, be sure to rate us 5 stars over there. Instagram, be sure to go and follow us. We've had a lot of love on there as of recent, which has been great. You've been posting some funny memes and stuff like that. The same goes with
one funny meme.
One funny meme, and it did well. Good on ya.
Like and subscribe.
And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel.
It's almost as if I just said that.
Yeah, but I did it more professionally and better.
No, you didn't.
I
did
am
it
better. I am
They'll,
better.
they'll listen to me, not Rhys.
I am better.
If you like and subscribe, make sure to comment with who you did it for, me or Rhys.
Yeah, and if you say Behm, then stop watching. Anyways.
Make sure you spell my name right too.
To be fair, they could spell my name wrong too. So RHYS.
Rubbits?
Reginald was a tough one this week. But yeah, appreciate you guys once again for tuning in to Zero Access Footy. My name is Rhys, known as Northie. This is... You say it. I'm not going to say your name for you. Stop doing the schizos. Oh my God. I'm just going to keep going. That's Behm, otherwise known as Prick. And I appreciate you all tuning in to another episode of Zero Access Footy. I'll see you all in the next one. Catch you later, guys.